Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So we are back with another episode of Fire Force episode 4. On the last episode, we had a lot of revelations. Of course, the competition has now started between the different fire companies. Unfortunately, it was interrupted by the Joker, who wanted a moment with Shinra and dropped some truth and some revelations on him. The first and most notable, of course, being that his brother is actually still alive. As to whether that is true or not, we don't really know. This could just be him trying to manipulate Shinra into coming to the dark side. Because he did give him a choice. Okay, he needs to choose between good or evil. But is a possibility based on what Shinra said. Nothing. There were no remains found at the scene of the fire when his mom and dad and brother died. Um, and I said last episode that I found that a bit weird because the fire would have to be very intense to burn a body to ash, or at least burning for a very long time. And I would have thought the fire force would have been on the scene relatively quickly, given that's their job. But if you know how fire companies work, that doesn't always work out to be the case. In any case, they so that's something Shuna now has to think about. Of course, he hasn't let that. He didn't let that deter him. He did meet I believe the guy leading the first company, is the one who actually rescued him at his home after the fire that killed his brother and mom. And he attempted to get some answers from him, but it's obvious that he's hiding something, and the company is hiding something as well. I am curious to know what drives the difference between the first company to the eighth, between 1 to 8. Whether it's a power scale or just number of saves that you've made, or how many fires something like that. How many of these infernals have you put out? Is that what determines what number the company is? I don't know. So I'm curious to know how the companies are actually numbered, whether it's a power scale. Of course, now Shinra knows. I imagine he's going to be a bit distracted. Initially, his aim was to become a hero and find out why people are combusting. But now that the Joker has dangled that little bit of detail over his head, I think he's gonna become a bit reckless in the future because of it, because he wants to know the truth. That didn't deter him last episode from saving the people there, and it could have. So I could be wrong there. Um, he, I mean, he spoke to Akiteru about what he was told, and his suspicions about the companies and what their agenda is. And we now know that there may very well be some conspiracy in the background where the truth behind the infernals and why they combust has been discovered a long time ago, but for someone's gain, it has not been revealed to the public, and there have been no attempt to actually stop it. Right? So Akiteru says that that's his mission, to investigate the other 7 companies and find out why the information hasn't been released, because they should have discovered the cause by now. And that adds a new layer to the story, which I very much enjoy. Of course, we were told now that we now know who controls all 8 companies, the 3 arms that govern it. The church, the army, and Hajime Industries, of course, which supplies them with equipment. And as I said last episode, I mean, all 3 have motives to actually want the Infernals to continue as they have. With the exception of the army, I can't think of any reason as to why they would. The church, of course, I can still see being complicit, because the more the fires happen, the more people will, sort of a twisted way to renew faith to the people, sort of thing, where people are more likely to pray to that God if they feel there's a need to, right? Oftentimes, you don't, unless trouble is at your doorstep, you don't. But if you're constantly being reminded that you could combust and you could die any day, and your father bursts into flames or your mom bursts into flames, and you will look to the church, and so they will benefit in some way, shape, or form. Hydrogen Industries, of course, is, they're flat out. I can call it from now that there's some greed going on somewhere there, because the more fires there are, the more equipment the fire companies will need, and they will have to purchase from them. So there's money in it for them. The army itself, is one entity there that I'm not quite sure how they would actually benefit from this. So it could be a situation where they have some arrangement with the other two, where they could benefit in some way. But there's definitely any possibility. There's definitely a possibility that all three could be complicit in this. But I'm not sure if Agitori mentioned who exactly. Is there someone he's reporting to, giving him orders to investigate the others? Did he mention that? Sure. Can't recall, so I'll have to go back and check that out. You guys can post below and let me know. We were introduced to a new character, Tamaki, who I actually mistook for Maki initially, but from what many of you have described, she's going to be that character that I'm most likely not going to love all that much, because it seems to be her focus seems to be a lot of fan service, which some of you have said has something to do with her abilities. I really can't see how. It makes her some levity though, so I'm all for that. As I've said before, fan service isn't my favorite thing in any anime. It just detracts from the main the story for me and the focus on the characters. But from the last episode, it didn't overshadow the other characters or the story. It was just a humorous moment. And only briefly. So if that's the case throughout, then I'll probably not even notice it. Very much, now that Shina is in on the investigation, we now know everything that we need to know, and I think things will ramp up from here on out. We know all the players on the board, at the very least I think so. We now know all the players on the board. We now know what the main objective is, which is to find out what's causing the humans to combust, but also in the background, who's manipulating the fire companies, if there's a truth out there and hiding the truth from the public. So we now know everything that we need to know, and I imagine from here on out it's just full speed ahead. Alright, so Fire Force episode 4, let's check it out. Who's this? See another caption? Okay. Confusion. And she's surrounded by 3 men. That looks like she's another captain encroaching on someone else's territory. But she's one of those dominatrix characters. Okay, where's he going?
訓練施設を吹っ飛ばしたジョーカーの肺の解析結果が出ました。どうやら主成分はホムラビトの肺のようです。
Using the ash of the dead as a weapon. ホムラビトの肺？死者の肉体を利用するなんて土下道が。
Well, Shinra's definitely not going to join now. Although I'm not completely convinced that Joker is the enemy, the big baddie though.
消防士の連続殺人犯を覚えていませんか？え？消防士でありながら4人を殺害した快楽殺人犯宮本です。彼の事件があってから消防庁と消防士への国民噂では精神鑑定で無罪になる見通しが強いとか。
よって被告人節尾宮本を無罪とする。ちょろいちょろい。
Great soul. So is that the god in this world?
殺してやる。てめえら全員ぶっ殺してやるぜ。身体発火だ。早く出ろ。
He's new looking. Why the hell are you still here?
よう裁判官、俺の行く末を勝手に決めやがって。無罪にして助けてやったじゃないか。裁くのはこの俺だ。
Actually, isn't that burning him? Hey.
オムラビトが発生しました。ただいまから緊急車両が通ります。ご通行中の皆様は一旦
You're helping a dog out of a
道を
tree.
広くお分けください。
緊急出動か。マッチボックス。
Yep. Catch up,
死ん
guys.
だ。アーサー、この辺にいるの。
じゃあなアーサー、先行くぜ。何すんだよ。
俺も連れてけ。
はいよシルバー。
They're his trusty steed. It's like a torch.
私は君の弁護士だぞ。味方じゃないか。そうだ、俺は消防士で。
Until he decided to kill
お
him.
前の命を俺が助けてやったんだ。お前の命、もう俺のものとも言えるよな。お前の
I
こ
don't think that part worked.
やめろ。ナムさん。
なんなんだ。
Arthur. Not bad.
そうか、お前ら特殊消防官か。インチキ落としけマンの殺人集団じゃねえか。
They are, not you.
ずるいな。
私たちもいます。プスプスコメント。プスプスコメントさん。
本当に
生への執着や意志が強いと生前の性質が残りますが、あそこまでのは初めてです。
逃げ場
He still
なし
has
か。わかった。
that lust that he had for blood before he turned.
お前らが殺人集団じゃないなら許してくれるよな。判決では俺は無罪だ。殺すわけにはいかねえよ
Didn't he just kill the judge inside?
あいにくお前のようなクズを許す。
So I'm guessing there's no trial for Inferno.
じゃねえか。そう。お前らがホムラビト。おい、死んだ。あいつに追いつけるのはお前し
But
か
I
いな
don't
い。
think most of the Infernos that they fought have been conscious, really.
あいつはもう人間じゃない。気持ちはわかるか。
大隊長。真
処理。鎮魂。自我のあるあいつを。
What do you do now?
ヒナは
Why are they just sitting here? Are they not going with him?
俺がやらなきゃ。また罪のない人が傷つく。俺がや。
It's nighttime.
この町はまるでおもちゃ箱だな。ドイツで遊んでやるか。
Yep.
人のお楽しみを邪魔しやがって。俺が消防士次第に何人助けたかし。助けた数と帳尻合わねえんだよ。なんだこいつ。なんだお前は。
What exactly does she want with him?
第5特殊消防隊大隊長プリンセスヒバナ。
なんだよいきなり話せ。
連れて行け。
Just gonna experiment
そ
on
い
him.
つは第8で鎮魂する。横から出てきて勝手なことしてんなよ。
私は大隊長だぞ。
Doesn't matter if you're a captain. This isn't your
俺の
jurisdiction.
情
Okay. He's stronger than Maki.
何しやがった。
第八の下っ端小じゃるがなめろ。
あなた方第五のやり方は少し横暴じゃないですか。
なめろと言っている。
俺は真面目に話をしてるんだ。
取り押さえろ。
What are the others?
三条。
邪魔だ。どけ。おい、国民の安全を守るのが消防官だろ。お前ら第五はどうなってんだよ。
ガキ一人尻餅ついただけだろ。焼いたわけじゃない。
Do you break her spell or whatever, or it's only temporary?
消防官が何たるか教えてやる。かかってこいよ第五。
Does she have to make direct eye contact? Need to know how her abilities work. And where is his team? Like seriously. Okay, rain stopped immediately.
ここは第8の管区です。少し勝手が過ぎませんか。
お村人化した時点で戸籍では死亡扱いとなり、鎮魂で死体も灰に帰るのだ。ならば体をそのまま預かっても問題ないと思うが、それに新設の第8にはまだ
調査結果は我々にも共有してくださるんです。
No, she won't.
もちろんだとも。
わかりました。あとは第5にお任せします。
だし。あ？
オービオ、一消防士があまりしゃしゃり出て深みにはまると、火ではなくお前自身が消されるぞ。
なるほど。だが第8の炎はそう簡単には消せんぞ。
I'd say your team kind of sucks right now, though. They need more people.
第5特殊消防隊、帰還するぞ。
Well, that was interesting. Something that I don't know, something that I love some bits of this episode, others not so much, and sort of with what I didn't love, I didn't absolutely love. I'm starting to realize that the abilities that they possess seem to be somewhat inconsistent, right? I understand that Shinra is a pyrokinetic. He can produce fire, but does that give him enhanced strength? Because he was fighting one of the infernal that infernal who was conscious, and he tossed a car at him. I can understand the infernal being souped up because he's now some supernatural being, but Shinra himself kicked a car, so I can understand being able to produce fire, but does that give him some enhanced strength or something like that? Because there's no way. Yes, you can produce fire, you can shoot fire, you can use fires to boost yourself above ground, but that doesn't mean you can actually kick a car that weighs over a ton. So I guess I'm just not quite sure how consistent the show is, or maybe that is a side effect of his ability that they just haven't stated, but you're expected to assume that it is. So for those of you who know a bit more, can explain that, how that works to me, right? Because it was a bit jarring seeing the fight, watching the fight and him just kicking a car as though it's a football. When that does that's very odd. So that I didn't absolutely love, because it kind of took me out of it, and we've never seen that kind of display here before. If you're strong enough to kick a car, then he doesn't need any help at scenes with Infernals. He should be able to do that just fine. So that was weird. I mean, if that's going to be the case, I hope they're consistent with it going forward, and he can be that strong throughout, and not next episode we see him fighting an infernal and he can't take a punch or he can't knock one the hell out. So I didn't love that. If they're gonna make him super strong, be consistent with it. So we'll see going forward. We are introduced to the captain of the fifth fire company. I don't remember what her name is, but seems to be something of a dominatrix. She has men on her team, but all the men on her team are there for her to walk on, literally walk on. This reminds me of this character from One Piece, but I'm not quite sure what her ability is. When she dropped down initially, one, it started to rain, so I'm not sure how she's doing that. She displayed three things when she arrived on the scene. One, the flames on her fan. Two, the rain. It started to rain, and then three, whatever it is that she used on Shinra to put his flames out. It's interesting. It's interesting because she's a second generation, I believe, is what they said. But it does highlight that, the difference between the different captains, because last episode we saw where the captain of the first fire company, he flew up in the air to actually save the others. Just as Shinra burst out of the building, right? So he has an ability. I don't know. Our captain, Akiteru, he has a job cut out for him because it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. Investigating all these, and I'm gonna assume that every single, in true anime fashion, the guy that you're going up against has to be 10 times more powerful than you are. So I'm gonna assume that most of, if not all, the other captains are actually second or third generation as well. And so the captain of the first company is third generation, and I think this captain of the fifth company is second generation. And because she made fun of Akiteru, that's why I assume he's the only one that's actually normal, because she made it a point to say it, that and jeer him that he's a nobody, right? So he's gonna be going up against all the other seven companies. They do have 2 third generation and 1 second on their team, and that other character that's their superior, but not the captain. I haven't seen him fight, so I'm not sure what his abilities, if any at all, are. We've never seen him use any pyrokinesis at all, actually. I think we've seen him with a gun or something like that, but so for the moment, at least as far as we know, we only have 2 third generations and a second generation, and that's pretty much it. And Iris, who doesn't do much else aside from pray for their soul, but they need some heavy hitters, is all I'm saying. They need some heavy hitters. But I like that. One of the things I like about it is that they're making every fire company, every company unique, right? Hers a big domineering. The first company, I'm not quite sure. We just saw the captain and one of his Tamaki, one of his fighters, but we didn't see who else was actually on his team. But from the looks of the team from the fifth company here, her squad is actually much larger than the eighth. And I knew they were recently formed, but I actually thought all the companies had the same complement, the same number of staff, or at least close. But while they were driving away with 3 matchboxes, I don't know if they're all called matchboxes or if it's just the 8th that's called a matchbox. But while they were driving away with 3 vehicles, our team only had 1. So it's safe to assume they have at least 3 times the amount that our team actually has. And the science division. But it does mean that there's room to grow, and I mean this is the start of the anime, pretty much. I don't know how far the manga has actually gotten, but it does mean that there's room to grow and to add more characters as we go along. But I don't want it to become. I don't know, it's fresh in my mind. I was having a discussion with someone before about One Piece, and I do not want it to become the new One Piece where it takes over, what is it, 700 chapters now just to put together a crew, and you still haven't met your objective as yet to find One Piece. So I hope that's not the case here, and I mean, perhaps it's not. Soul Eater didn't go down that road, so I'm hoping the mangaka the artist doesn't do the same thing here, with Fire Force as well. So I'm more confident with that we're in good hands here, and it won't be drawn out indefinitely. So we're. I said last episode that I did say last episode that I wanted to meet the other members of the other 7 companies that they're going to be investigating. So we've now met the 5th. We met part of the 1st. So I imagine over the course of the next few episodes we're going to be meeting a lot of them. I did want to say though that what happened to the competition? I felt like we were just at the start of the competition, and then we were tossed back into another mission. Now maybe I missed something from the last episode. Did they cancel it or postpone it because of what happened, because they were attacked? Was there a winner, or is the next phase of the competition a later date? So they're just carrying on as usual until the next phase. But I was expecting it to continue from the last episode and to jump back into the competition, because I wanted to see more about those characters. Tamaki is the only one that we actually got to see fight last episode, but I'm assuming we had representatives from all 8 companies there. So that was a bit weird. Not a lot happened by way of the moving the plots along this episode. I mean, we do have an Infernal here who is conscious, and he refers to them as murderers. I imagine because he's, a lot of times he's probably been given orders to actually take people out, even though he's just being looked at as a killer himself. But clearly he's been in the system long enough to know what's up. So whatever experiment they're gonna perform on him, I imagine it's not too far off from the ashes that the Joker used last episode. So they experiment on those people on those Infernals who deviate from the norm, or show some special traits. In his case, him being conscious of it, and there was a discussion, that I guess Shinra is gonna need to have with himself in terms of what they should do with Infernals, whether they should outright slay them when they come across them, or should they contain them, restrain them, or try to turn them back to normal if that's possible. They don't know. But it's a typical, the zombie phenomenon. If there's an outbreak and everyone starts turning into zombies, do you then kill them, or do you try to save them in the hopes of finding some cure? Do you take that risk, right? And it's the same thing here. So, although if you watch The Walking Dead, that never works out very well. So here, and I mean, most of the Infernals are not conscious, so it's difficult to save every single one of them when they're trying to kill you and harm everyone around them. And not all of them are like that, of course, because the father that we encountered on the last time, 2 episodes ago, he didn't want to harm his daughter. He just sat there. So it's an interesting dilemma now, a crisis of the conscious, a moral dilemma that Shinra will have to deal with. And I'm on the fence. I think that, okay, look, I understand wanting to save them, but I don't think you have a choice in this instance. No, at this stage where these things start to go on a rampage, you'll save more lives by taking that one out rather than trying to save it. Especially if one of them becomes conscious like this guy has, and his first instinct was to go into a crowded city and start slaughtering people. So I get where Shinra is coming from, wanting to save them, but it's not black and white like that. But a tough choice nonetheless. Still a tough choice. Especially when you know that something is happening in the background. So there's something happening that's deliberately causing this to actually happen. So, moral dilemma that he'll have to deal with. Kill them or not kill them. Akiteru seems to be of the opinion that, and most of his team, that you can't hesitate. You just have to take them out. But for the sake of the story, I see that changing going forward. I imagine at some point, now that they've discovered that it is possible for them to, to develop consciousness, I imagine later on they're going to encounter something to make them believe there is a possibility to turn them back, and then they're going to feel horrible for killing these humans. It's similar to what happens in Attack on Titan as well. So later on they're going to find out that hey, there's a possibility to save them, and we've been killing them all along. But those are the orders that they've been given. So what else do you do? And in a life or death situation, you don't have a choice. Even if you did want to save them, where would you put them? Where would you contain them? Right? Unless the higher ups authorize that, then they don't have the resources to do it themselves. So it's going to be a tough decision. I like this new captain, and I also don't like her. Her abilities are cool as hell. I want to know more. But the dominatrix, as I said before, I'm not a huge fan of the whole fan service thing, and I feel like this is playing into that. Something like a prison school thing, prison school anime thing or manga thing, which is just unnecessary. She's cool on her own, but I mean, again, it wasn't too much. It was only brief, and add some levity to it. So I imagine maybe that's the whole point. Hopefully, it doesn't overshadow the rest. So as I said before, as long as it doesn't overshadow the rest, I'm fine. But I just feel for our team. It just feels like they have so much against them, because everyone else seems to be corrupt as hell. The first captain, while he didn't come across as immediately corrupt, it did appear as though he knew more than he was actually saying. So I don't trust anyone, and I think they need some help. So with that, I am hoping that maybe there is some other, one of the other 7 fire companies that maybe they're naive to it all, and they will actually join the 8th in trying to uncover what's happening. It can't all be corrupt, right? It can't all be corrupt. There must be one other that's that have good motivations for doing what they're doing. I hope so. I do hope so. Or at the very least, if not the captains themselves, their juniors, the other members who can maybe defect from the other companies and join the 8th. So that would be something interesting. That would be interesting, actually. That character that we met last episode, Tamaki. As much as the captain seemed shady as hell, but she actually seemed genuine. So it'd be interesting to see if they clash with the 8th. Although she seemed protective of her captain, but if they clash with the 8th and she discovers that the captain is not so great, would she join the 8th? So I imagine something like that can actually happen. So because our team needs help, they need help, man. They're outnumbered and outgunned at this stage. So we'll see. Alright guys, be sure to post down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this episode. Hit like or subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.